Hello, fellow Darksiders. So today we're going to be doing something a bit different regarding my content. It's not going to be a gameplay or reaction video. As you can probably tell already, it's going to be a tier list video. What am I going to be tiering? Villains, of course. That's kind of what this whole channel is about, if you didn't notice already. I don't know how you did, but yeah. No judgment here. So we're gonna be ranking villains not by their malignance, because I think the Vile Eye already does that. He's a really big channel. He just focuses heavily on villain analysis. But instead, we're gonna be examining villains by their competency. So, like, how close a villain was to achieving his or her goal. And we're going to be estimating them based off of that, right? We're going to be seeing if these villains are truly worthy of the title, or if they're just simply washouts, not even worthy of being called a villain. So we've got a few tiers here. I'm just going to run you guys through them because this is the start of the series, and I figure that, what better time to tell you guys about my ranking system. We got if plot armor didn't. It got the S tier. If plot armor didn't exist, they'd rule the universe. And this tier is kind of like for the, really, really powerful, really intelligent, strong villains that are like, if the plot armor, plot contrivance didn't exist, they would have achieved their goal. Ruling the universe is just an example, right? It's just a funny statement, but like, it's like if plot armor wasn't around, the heroes would stand no chance. The protagonists would be obliterated. There's no chance for them. Right? And whoever comes in here, they're like really competent, really dangerous, the best of the best in terms of villainy. They're the cream of the crop, the aristocracy, the elites, so the best of the best, elite of the elite. Elite echelons of darkness is kind of like elite, but below the elite of the elite. They're just like really good, really strong, but for whatever reason, they didn't make the cut into plot armor. If plot armor didn't exist, they'd rule the universe. Maybe they just shortly missed the mark or whatever. Again, this is all my opinions, so you guys are free to disagree with me in the comments or whatever, but for whatever reason, they didn't make the cut up there. They're alright, could be better, but still fearsome. So these are like your mid-tier villains. Maybe they only showed up for one movie or one series, one episodes even, like a single episode of a TV series, but they're so memorable in their appearance that maybe, I decide to put them here. But since they didn't have much of an impact on the story or the narrative, or we just don't know much enough about them to know about like what kind of goal they would have or like their competency level or anything like that, I would put them here. Forgettable or otherwise useless patsies. So these are just for your goons, your lower level enforcers. These guys have no free will of their own. They're just kind of like, they're just there in the story as background characters, henchmen or whatever, and they're just there for the heroes to knock over like dominoes. And then we have not even worth being called a villain. This is like the worst of the worst. Like if you're here, why are you even classified as a villain? You're like more just the antagonist, right? You're not even because your competency is low, or maybe you betrayed villainy itself, which, by the way, betraying your villainous overlords or just betraying the cause that you previously signed up for as a villain, that's a big no-no. So that's why I would put you here, right? So this is basically like, this is the shit rung. This is like, you do not want to be here, right? Or maybe you do if, you're not actually a villain, you're just like some kind of fraud or whatever. So we've got quite a few options here, but as you guys can probably tell from the title, and also from the fact that I kind of want to go over like villains who I have knowledge of, really, because I mean it's just kind of unfair to rate a villain if I don't really know much about them from their native piece of media. I think I'm gonna go today first and rate who, everyone's favorite intergalactic emperor, Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine. Yes, that's right. This is not going to be the first time or the last time that Palpatine is discussed on this channel. If you guys know, my very first video here on this channel, I think, was about the Emperor. And I'm doing him first because, in my opinion, he is the greatest cinema villain of all time. You probably already know what tier I'm going to put him into, guys. Because, I mean, let's be real. Sheev Palpatine is kind of like the OG cinema villain. He is the dude who is the, how do I say, like the inspiration for a lot of other cinematic bad guys. right? Like, the evil galactic emperor, the shadowy overlord, the manipulator, he is kind of the one behind so many events in his native universe that Star Wars, as it is currently known, as it exists, would not even be feasible without the emperor, right? And that's the type of competence you don't really find nowadays with villains, right? Because villains always have to be like sympathetic, or they always have to fail, right? Or they always have to, something has to happen to them to ensure they don't reach their goals because of whatever reason, whatever plot contrivance. But the Emperor, at least in Revenge of the Sith, of course, he did fail in the end. I mean, that's kind of an inevitability with all villains and all antagonist characters. But the Emperor was so close to achieving total domination over the universe. Like, you guys got to understand, Palpatine, he was he was only at the start of his campaign of like conquering everything when he first took over the galaxy, right? Like the fucking Order 66 and all that, when his clone army turned on the Jedi, wiped them out. That was only the beginning. Once he cemented control over the galaxy and he ruled the empire, he was so powerful, so successful, he got bored. He delegated, rulership of the empire to like lesser admirals and governors and moffs and stuff because he just did not find it stimulating. Like, that's the level of competency he was at. Like, he was such a great manipulator, such a great liar, such a great like user of people, right? That like he found it beneath him to like run the very thing that he worked so hard to achieve. So, like, on that vein, that's a level of competency most villains can only aspire to, right? Well, excuse me. I think obviously the Emperor is going to go into, if plot armor didn't exist, they'd rule the universe because he did rule the universe, or I guess the galaxy. He ruled the galaxy, and he planned on invading other galaxies. Like, his galactic empire became so expansive and so powerful and ascendant at one point that he was thinking of dominating other galaxies. Right? Like, this guy was not satisfied with what he had. He thought he wanted more. Like, if you look at the outbound flight, like, kind of stuff, right, guys? Because there was this Star Wars story called Outbound Flight that involves like the Emperor sending out. And this was only in Legends. I don't know if it's in canon, but like he sent out this like cruiser full of people to try and like expand and explore beyond the native galaxy. And excuse me, if he succeeded in that, I can tell you for a fact he would not have stopped. We would have seen star destroyers in other universes. We would have seen them conquering and subjugating other universes because the Emperor is not someone to be appeased with just having a little bit. He wants more. He wants it all. He's not going to stop until every last being is under his control. And a lot of villains have these lofty ambitions, but Palpatine, he had the ability to back it up. He was competent. He knew how to control people. He knew how to tell people what they wanted in order to get them to work for him, which is very underrated. It's very difficult to manipulate someone, right? As a villain, because I mean, he was very clearly like you got to know about the Emperor. He was not really devoted to any cause but himself. He was purely selfish. He did not give a shit about you if you were not him. Like, that was the greatest sin in the universe to him. The simple fact that you were not him. Because everything was for his sake. Like, he is a level of selfishness that I think is hard to encompass because he's a pure psychopath. He's not a sociopath. He does not care about a single other entity in the fucking cosmos at all. Like, he is the embodiment of the Sith philosophy, right? That's been brewing for generations since like the fall of Darth Bane, and the rule of two is established, and each Sith sharpens the next, like, the apprentice kills the master and so on and so forth, and like iron sharpens iron. Palpatine was the culmination of all of that because he was a vacuum in the force of just pure energy, pure hatred. He was a skilled duelist, he was a skilled politician, a skilled philosopher, skilled manipulator. He was good at so many different things. And of course, he was born really rich and powerful, right? Like, Palpatine could have easily had a normal, like, happy distance life. Like, he was born the scion of a powerful, noble family on Naboo, the Palpatines. Like, his dad, Kasinga Palpatine, was a really influential political figure. Like, he could have lived life on easy mode he wanted to, but he wanted everything. He wanted more. He's just pure, unadulterated, like it's hard to describe because Palpatine, his level of psychopathy, right? It's hard for us to really fathom it because, like, think about you watching this video. You're watching this video. You care about at least one other person in your life. I'm betting you care about at least one other person. Palpatine is not like that. He does not care about a single other being. Like other villains that we go over on this list, like as cruel or as spiteful or as destructive as they are in their stories, they care. I mean, they might show in a pretty terrible way, but they care about someone else. The Emperor does not. The Emperor has one goal in life, and that is to become a god. And then he wants to rule forever as a god, and he wants to conquer and rule more, like forever and ever and ever, because the only joy he finds in life is bringing suffering to other people. You can see that really with, his fights against Mace Windu and Yoda, because he was taking a really sort of sadistic and perverse pleasure in killing the Jedi sent to like arrest him when Mace Windu and his task force showed up. And he also really enjoyed like harming Yoda because he really hated Yoda. Like he had a secret bludgeoning, sort of boiling hatred. He was like, "My little green friend, Master Yoda, you survived." He was a fucking spiteful prick, dude, which is amazing. But the best part is he was a spiteful, successful, competent prick. A lot of the villains that we're going to observe on this tier list, they're full of spite, they're full of hatred, but they just don't have the competency to back it up, right? Like you see, like, what's an example? What's a good example? Like looking through this tier list right now, Ramsay Bolton. Yeah, there's a guy. There's a psychotic maniac right there. I mean, he's selfish. He's a rapist. He's evil. But there's something that differentiates people like Ramsay from people like Palpatine. Palpatine is able to cloak his hideousness, his wickedness, his hatred beneath this veneer of approachability and affability. Like, oh, I'm your friend. I'll tell me what your problem is. I'll help you. I'll help you solve it. I'll help you with whatever it is you've got going on, man, because we're friends. Ramsey can't even put up that disguise. Ramsey, it's so hard for Ramsey to act like a normal person that when Roose even floats the idea of having an heir from well, what was that woman's name? The fat Frey woman, I forget her name in Game of Thrones, and Ramsey just immediately he just overreacted, murdered his dad, took over the House of Bolton, killed the fat Walder Frey and his unborn half brother, or his like infant half brother. I think he was already born by then, but whatever. And then he immediately just runs the house into the ground because he just immediately confronts Jon Snow and he just gets his ass fucking destroyed. He gets obliterated. Palpatine would not make a mistake like that. Even with how much canon fucked him, they still realize the people at Disney, the higher ups were like, this guy would not be that stupid that he would just fucking do Operation Cinder and that whole bullshit. Which, by the way, that's Operation Cinder. That's such a stupid idea. I can't believe they even ascribed that to the Emperor. But like, they knew that he would not do that without a backup plan in mind. Like, he had this whole hidden Final Order shit on Exegol going on, and this is just in canon. I mean, in Legends, he had the Dark Empire. He had his, excuse me, he had his planet on Biss. He had his he had a secret plan on Biss and all those clone bodies and like all those secret Imperial assets, and he had the World Devastators and shit, and he could conjure force storms. Like Palpatine, excuse me, excuse me. Palpatine's the dude that has backup plans for his backup plans. Like this guy is more prepared. Like he will come to a party already knowing the names and faces of every single person attending and who to shimmy up to. And and like by the time the party's over, he's best friends with everyone there. He's got all their personal contact info, and he's probably planning an after party a few hours later at his place where the real shenanigans can go on. And Palpatine's gonna like gather blackmail on everyone who's attending so they can all be useful assets for him in the future. Like this dude thrives off the game in a way not many villains do, and not many competent villains do. He's good because he enjoys what he does. He's this like cackling old man, the shadowy overlord of shadowy overlords. There is not a villain in cinema, I think, that will even ever reach his level. I mean, I could go on and on. This is just very surface level and analysis of the Emperor. I intend to make a lot more detailed sort of like overviews of his character in the future. But I mean, these are just my disjointed thoughts. This is functioning more as a podcast. I don't even have a script for these videos, so like I'm just saying whatever comes to mind. And these thoughts about the Emperor. I mean, I stand by it. I do, because I mean, even with all his faults and like all the shit that Disney's made him do that makes him seem like a complete buffoon. I mean, he's still reigning. I mean, he did Order 66. He wiped out the Jedi Order that stood for like thousands of years, crushed the Sith. I mean, he manipulated Anakin Skywalker to become Darth Vader, the most famous cinematic villain of all time. Like that was all him. He is the mastermind. He's the like template for a galactic emperor type villain, a sci-fi villain in general. I mean, you show me a sci-fi villain after 1977, or not 1977, but whenever the Emperor debuted, whenever Empire Strikes Back came out, you show me a sci-fi villain after that, and I bet you it's inspired off Palpatine. I mean, I'm not entirely confident about that, but I would bet like at least 70% of sci-fi villains, or at least shadowy overlord archetype type characters, have some injection of the Emperor in them. And that's just because he's just fucked up. And he was fucked up from birth. He didn't cry when he was born. He was just a psychopath. And, there's a lot of other villains just as malignant and just as competent as him, but they didn't achieve as much as him, right? Like, this guy took over a whole galaxy. Like, a galaxy is a huge chunk of space. That's like thousands of stars and planets and planetoids, asteroids, different celestial bodies and shit. Like, that's trillions of lives. And also, like, Star Wars is the most famous IP to ever be created. So when you think about the cultural impact that Palpatine has had, this kind of reach that Palpatine has had, I don't think any other villain, very few other villains, like maybe Sauron from Lord of the Rings, who we're also going to go over later on in the series, maybe he reached that level a bit, but Sauron was never as present as the Emperor. The Emperor, especially in Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith, the Emperor was just in your face, just laughing, like, ah, 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 ah. Like he was in the game. He was there. Like, he loves being there, seeing you cry in despair and horror as his plans come to fruition. Like, this dude is the king of evil in Star Wars. He's the main antagonist of Star Wars for a reason. Like, everything after Phantom Menace and during Phantom Menace, and a lot of things even before Phantom Menace, it's all because of him. Plagueis just kind of provided the pathway and gave this guy the opportunities, Darth Plagueis, but he was the one who kind of made himself into this fucking malignant force of doom. Like, he inherited all of what the Sith built to like take over the Republic from within, and he gave it his own spin of just psychopathic mania. Like, he wasn't even planning on following the rule of two, because he knew that Vader could not run the Empire. He knew that he was the one Sith. He would rule as an immortal dictator. He was the culmination of the Sith's hard work. Like, this guy knew his own like value, his own worth. He was confident in himself, and rightfully so. I mean, this guy he's a fucking maniac. He's like he is a soldier of Satan. Actually, I think he would be offended at that because he would want to usurp Satan and take his place as the Lord of Hell, because that's what fuels him. You look at Palpatine, inside him, there's no he has no like human supremacist ideals. He has no ideals of even the empire, or like no illusions that he brings law and justice to the galaxy. He is hollow. There is one thing that fuels him: more power for himself, more benefits for himself, more things for himself, more. And he has the competency to back that up. He engineered the downfall of a civilization, brought up another one, and then when that fell, he had a secret civilization in the making. And I mean, even though it fell in one movie, which I mean, it's just ugh, so Force Awakens. Not well, yeah, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. We can go for hours about those movies and like how they possibly paint Palpatine in a very different light than what we might understand him as. The fact that he still built the Final Order, I mean, as crazy as that is, and as logistically kind of impossible as the Final Order and all those starships might have been, he still did that shit. I don't know how, but he did that shit. I mean, you gotta admit, that's pretty impressive to, like, build a fucking Death Star Star Destroyer fleet on Exegol, no one noticing for, like, 30 years. And he was gonna use it, too, because he just did not care at that point. Like, Palpatine is the competent of competence. He's the benchmark, I think, of which I'm gonna rate all the other villains that come after him on this tier list. So, that out of the way, I'm gonna put the Emperor in. If plot armor didn't exist, they'd rule the universe, because he did rule the universe. Because the Jedi's plot armor was taken away for like a split second. Revenge of the Sith, bam, they're gone. wiped them all out. He just did not hesitate, just destroyed all of them. Well, most of them. I mean, in every Star Wars lore like edition nowadays, it's like, oh, this Jedi survived Order 66. But like for the most part, right? Like 90% of the Jedi Order, at least, he completely wiped out, destroyed, eradicated. So I mean, you got to give him credit for that. Like he's still the competency of competency, right? Like if you, all aspiring villains should aspire to his level, right? So with that out of the way, that's the first of this hopefully long and prosperous and bountiful tier list done. If you guys have any suggestions for villains you want me to review in this competency list, please let me know in the comments below. And with that out of the way, make sure to leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoy this little deranged rambling of mine. And with that out of the way, Darksiders, stay tuned.